Hey everybody, this is Perch, and just please hear me out in this whole thing. I know it's fun to kind of comment as you go in the video, and you can do that, but please just commit to the end. It's 10 minutes. It's not that much time. I'm going to try and construct a point. Maybe I'll succeed. Maybe I'll fail. I don't know. But the question is this: why would you want to work in comics? Why? You're hearing, you hear this drama. If you go on YouTube, there's a million and one videos about how much drama and chaos and nonsense there is in comics. If you go on Facebook or Twitter, then you're either confronted with a lot of angry drama or weird drama, what feels like kind of a high school locker room, just the weirdest stuff. I mean, I have a friend who's in comics who, by and large, got out of all social media. That's several people right now. I know Sean has come on and identified, but this wasn't Sean I was talking to. But more and more people are just doing that, and it's for the same reason. It's like, hey, I definitely don't like the angry trolling people who make comments about that these people need to be run off or women can't write comics or any of that kind of stuff. But that's what everybody focuses on. But the other stuff is no better. It's a bunch of craziness. It's a bunch of very clicky. You feel gross just engaging with it. Why would anyone want to make comics? Well, I won't bury the lead. There's a very simple answer to this, but it's good. It's the crux of the rest of the video. The simple answer is because you love comics, because you enjoy storytelling, because you like to draw, because you have imagination in your head and you want to get it out, because you aren't willing to commit to writing really creepy fanfic on some Reddit board somewhere. I'm kidding about that last one. Lots of people do that. But the reason why people still want to make comics, why they do make comics, is because they honestly enjoy making comics. They enjoy comics, and they want to put them out. And that is most people. What's weird is I think a lot of people are running around and they have forgotten that. You know those like cheesy kid movies that you've seen where it's like, you've forgotten the spirit of Christmas. It's a little seed down in your heart. It's like the Grinch, right? Imagine the Grinch's heart is shrunk, but he still has a heart, right? The body can't function without it. So he still has a heart, but it's super, super tiny. It's so small that he just sits up in his little weird, like mountain man cave and just like pisses on the dumb Who people all the time. And then he has to be reminded that his heart can grow. He has to be reminded that he loves things. I think nearly everyone, to a fault, if not everyone, who's doing comics, whether you're an independent person, whether you're doing crowdfunding, whether you're in work for Marvel or DC or wherever you have, there's a seed somewhere in there of you wanting to make comics, that you actually enjoy comics. And I say that because of this. If you truly had zero desire to make a single comic, if you just did you don't care about comics, you don't like them, you don't like storytelling, you don't like art, you don't like any of this shit, then there's no money in comics. So now you're down to like, I don't know why you would get there. In the first, there's nothing left. The idea that, hey, I really want to work in TV, but I hate comics, but I'm going to start in comics in order to make it in TV. That's absurd. Now, I definitely think there are people who love comics but maybe like TV more, or maybe they love comics but they think they can get paid more doing TV, and so they kind of say they work in comics for a while, it's not very successful, they don't make any money, and they're like, I think I'll go do TV, and they have those dreams, sure. But somewhere there's this little seed of love for comics. I do believe that. And I think that, if everybody who's like, these people hate comics. No, somewhere in that little Grinch heart, there is a love for comics. There's a love for this medium. That's why they came to the table in the first place. And that's a good thing, right? I enjoy talking to people. I did some interviews. I've done the recent interview with Pat Shand, Jim Salicrup, certainly Jeff Thorne, Sean Murphy, a lot of different personalities. I will continue to interview lots of different personalities, people from the right, people on the left. By the way, as an aside, please, when somebody comes on and I'm doing an interview, honing in immediately to, I think this person's on the left. I mean, just chill out. Just good Lord. I'm talking to lots of different people, lots of different ideologies. It's valuable to hear from lots of different ideologies. It's valuable to hear different ideas. It is. Okay. Now you can choose to disagree with those things. Like I hear what this person's saying and I don't agree. That's cool. But just don't be don't be the 24-hour whirlwind of people like just, you can't give data to the people on the right wing, and then less than 24 hours later, you should never interview a lefty. I mean, God damn it, people, just listen to sorry, children. Just chill out. Find that little seed of comics love in your heart, and then see if you can grow it up a little bit. Anyway, that's the platform, right? People love comics. That's why they came to it. So the other half of this, though, is it feels like to me, I'm just speaking from my own experience, that we make it really hard to grow that seed into something useful, to make that heart grow bigger, like the Grinch did. We make it very, very hard. We make it very, very hard with just a lot of dumbass nonsense. Now, there's a bunch of reasons. Some of it's power. When I see different either comic creators or big leaders who are comic fans, but they have a big following, and they're shouting stuff out to people like, you need to do this, you need to do that. I hate being told what to do. I've told that a million times on this channel as well. The fastest way to get me to tune out, ignore, stop listening, or actively work against you is to tell me what to do. You tell me what to do, I'm done. I don't want to hear it anymore. And I think that's when I see, even if it's disguised as advice. I know Dan Slott did his here's some advice for young artists. You sound like a tool. I'm sorry, you do. And it's hard not to get angry. It does not sound, even though pro tip, if you're doing a little tweet thread or you're doing some advice for people and you have to write in the thread, I'm not trying to, be your mom here. I'm not trying to, finger wag you. If you have to write that is what you're doing. Nobody, if you're not doing those things, you don't ever think I should put in here that I'm not being a douchebag. If you find yourself saying, I'm not trying to be a douchebag, but you're a douchebag. I mean, and it works for everybody, by the way. I've seen lots of things like, we're not trying to say that all the liberal comics should be exploded, but I'm like, no, that is what you're saying. Just stop. Don't. If you find yourself having to put in disclaimers like that, then, and I do it too, by the way. I've done threads where I put in a disclaimer. Sometimes I've done these threads or even videos where I'm like 7 minutes into it and I find myself giving a disclaimer and I stop. Like somewhere in my brain, there's like a little guy in there. It's like, hey, dumbass, you're doing the same thing. And I'm like, oh, I sound like an asshole. So then I delete, right? But there's so many. There's this gravity, this pressure, this weight in comics to seem to want to bury that love of comics as far down as possible, whether it's like picking random fights. Look at the stuff with NFTs and look at it's not just, hey, I don't like NFTs, but you do what you want. It's the shrill, aggressive kind of chaos. It is how many people who not just, the retailer, or I think Eric Stevenson, right, who called DC a sociopath for leaving Diamond. There were plenty of fans and other creators echoing that sentiment. A sociopath? Really? Why, when you say things like that, it buries that love of comics further and further and further down. That's the annoying who singing that's making the Grinch's heart shrink in the beginning. I know the singing made it grow later, but work with me here. I'm trying to make this analogy work. It's like you are purposefully killing this love. And there's the people who have been in comics who have then left it. And I've talked to them, I'm working in novels now, or I'm working in TV, or I'm working wherever. I'm like, do you miss comics? And it's like, yeah, I miss comics, ... But I don't really miss the behavior around it. That I've heard so many times. And the behavior that around it is this. It's this extreme kind of craziness. It's why when, and every now and then I've taken some of those extreme statements, I've put them into the captions. I have Captain America and he's looking really, dramatic and good. And instead of saying, we have to fight for the lesser man so we can have justice, or he's saying something very inspiring. And instead I put in there anyone who uses NFTs is killing the planet and screwing the world and deserves to drown in piss. It's like, listen to what you're saying. You sound like the Red Skull. You sound like the Joker. You sound like Lex Luthor. That's what you sound like. You don't sound like a hero. Now, maybe your goal is to be a villain. Then, in which case, mission accomplished. But all those things just shrink the love down. You know, this Dan Slott tweet where he's picking on people for redrawing. I mean, yeah, should we all go out and say, hey, people should try not to be assholes. They should try and be kind. Hey, if you're going to rip another creator, maybe don't tag that creator in your tweet. It says kind of being a dick. Yes, all that's true. It's true. You should try and go out every day and try not to be a jerk. When you go to the grocery store later, if you get to like the meat aisle and the person in front of you has picked the last batch of pork or whatever that you wanted, you know, maybe don't punch them in the face. Maybe don't, grab their kid and throw them on the floor. Maybe just find some different meat to buy. Like this isn't being a pacifist. It's not being a crazy person. And yet in comics, that love, that spirit that drives us to want to make comics is regularly buried by shit. And that garbage it's heavy. It doesn't help. It's and the healthiest thing, I go back to what Sean said, what my friend said, what others have said, is like, get the F off Twitter. Because at least then you can shut off one little input of toxic sludge that's going to bury that love. I was interviewing Jeff Thorne, and he said, nobody gets into comics for the money, obviously. You get into comics for the love of it. And that's true. I think that is true. I think that is the common thread that in theory should bind everyone, from Dan Slott to Vita Ayala to, Chuck Gibson to, I can go down the line of every creator who likes comics. I picked 3 very random names there. That's what we should all be about. And we should work harder not to bury that. So aggressively, bury it. Like if we're bored, make more comics. If you find yourself with enough time to want to play nanny on Twitter at people or go into comments and just at that point, consider that you're burying that heart, that love. Come on, people in comics. Let's have that heart grow 3 sizes too big or whatever the hell he was. If that really happened in real life, by the way, the Grinch's heart like expanded in that short amount of time, like he's dead. Like he'd have like a massive coronary failure. It would be terrible. But that would make a bad cartoon. So it is what it is. Anyway, I do believe everybody who's doing comics is doing it because they love it. I do believe that. I just believe that love can shrink. And it can be buried with a lot of hatred and nonsense and chaos and gatekeeping and BS. And that's a lot of where we find ourselves. And what is the outcome of all this? Well, in the year to come, this is a hard year we're heading into. It's already been a hard year. It's going to be at least another 12 to 18 months of really hard times. The people who survive this year are the people who have that love of comics that they can still hold on to, that they know exists, that they can look at. Those are the people who are going to survive. The people who have buried their own love with a bunch of garbage and are frantically trying to bury other people's love with their own garbage, those people will not survive. Your heart can't take the next 12 months. So you got to go back to your core, and your core should be love of this business, putting stuff out, and that. Full stop. That's what it should be. Or not. You decide. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.